All right, here we go.
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
Tray Deee, welcome back.
Right on, man. Thanks for having me back.
Of course, it's been a couple of months.
Right. Got a little few things done in between that time.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for coming out to the video too. I did with Crooked Eye and G Perico,
Oh,
True
yeah.
Life Story.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate that, man. Enjoyed your company.
No doubt, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you having me.
No
Got to
doubt.
hang out in Long Beach.
My
time.
city.
Yeah, first time in a while.
Congratulations to Snoop Dogg for a star.
Star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Hollywood Walk of
That
Fame.
just happened.
I
That's
say
big.
it's my city, but you know he was running it before me, so he
Yeah.
brought me on. So I got to give him all due.
Of course, man. Of course, that's big.
Yeah.
That's big. First, man, one of the few rappers that have gotten stars. Period. Fuck California or
Come
Long
on,
Beach. I'm just in general.
yes,
like,
sir. Talk about that part. Yeah, how many
Yeah.
rappers have actually, and earned it? I really think he earned it.
Oh yeah, no one's doubting his credibility.
I saw Good Morning America, and they was talking about the speech he gave, and he was like, I'd like to thank me for all the hard work I put in. I'd like to thank me for not taking those days out. And I thought that was funny because I knew it would get pulled. But I know he don't feel like they a humble person, you know what I'm saying, a godly person. But it was funny how he delivered that. But shout out to him, man, definitely.
In the top of the news today, and by the time this comes out, things may change a little bit, but Tekashi 6ix9ine has been arrested by the feds, who have a 95% conviction rate.
Yes, they do.
I looked it up.
Yeah.
For conspiring to commit murder, robberies, and drug dealing. Facing 20 years to life in the worst case. And a bunch of other guys got, swept up at all, as well.
Yeah.
Treyway, aka Shotty.
Oh, Treyway did get arrested in this too?
He got arrested.
Oh,
This
I'd ask
other
somebody
dude,
earlier, they said.
Crippy, who I guess was the guy who got shot at the restaurant.
Right.
A few people. And their bail all got denied.
Even Tekashi?
Even Tekashi. He offered, according to this one lawyer that was there, he offered to liquidate his bank account of like 1.7 million, and the judge said no.
Yeah, when the feds, usually the reputation on them is, thank God I never had a federal case myself.
You've never had a federal case?
Never.
Always been state?
I had a federal offense, but by the time it got processed through the system, it became a state case because, I had a couple of down homies, shout out to them. They know who they is. I ain't gonna mention them. But they actually brought the victim down to the police station and made him sign a waiver of prosecution. I had me and another one of my homies, we had like a triple kidnap, robbery, home invasion, assault with a deadly weapon. They came in, I still had jewelry and money in my pocket. It was wild. It was wild. And they caught up with the dude trying to move in the U-Haul, and they brought him down to the to the
So
station.
the guy the victim, tried to leave town real quick.
Yeah.
With the U-Haul and everything.
Yeah, a couple of days.
Couple of your friends noticed that and said,
No,
hey.
they was staking it out. They was waiting on him,
Okay.
They was waiting on him, and they because it was like we had to get the charges off us or we was through. Kidnap carries life.
Oh, so you were facing life.
Yeah, kidnap carries life. So just with those charges right there, we would have been gone for at least 20, 30, 40 years.
And talking about this now has no, because I'm always getting accused of setting people up. Like, so you're saying talking about this now is no big deal? Past the statute of limitations and all that?
Yeah, the statute, it's way. If they want to come talk about that, good luck on finding the guy, good luck on finding the case. You know what I'm saying? And, this is all sensationalism anyway. You know what I'm saying? It's Tray Deee, it's me with the fake chain. You know what I mean? Don't believe what I say.
So you almost had a Fed case. But if you had a Fed case, then it'd be a much different story than what you went through. Because the feds, like I said, 95% conviction rate.
Yeah, when they build the case against you, this is, according to people I know who've done federal time and had, dealings with the feds, they say when they come in, they got all their T's crossed and their I's dotted. So you know, and it's mandatory minimum sentences that come with each offense. So, you know, it's pretty much cut and dried. It's not, you're not able to wriggle out of it. You know, as a matter of fact, my artist who you allowed to come on the show with me,
DW Flame?
DW Flame. He goes to court January 9th, and he's been in the Fed since.
Oh.
He's been in the Fed since this summer, last summer, earlier this fighting the case.
Right after our interview?
Yeah, not too long, couple of months after. Yeah.
Oh man,
But
I can't.
No, but it was related to a case that they had found a weapon that wasn't registered in California, so they wanted taxes off of it. So it's real convoluted, you know what I'm saying? But he should be out. He should be out real soon.
I'm sure I'll get blamed for that arrest as well. Okay, so Tekashi got hemmed up, and apparently his crew was turning against him, because I guess what they're saying was they were tapping their phone lines and stuff like that, and they're saying how, you know, allegedly that his crew was going to kill him, which is why they scooped everyone up and put everyone, you know, in jail. I guess they're in Rikers.
Yeah.
Which I guess like a prison jail kind of.
Yes, I thought the county jail was awful. I heard some stories about Rikers that's unbelievable.
Yeah. And apparently he just got put in general population.
Oh, I was so sure they sent him to protective custody, just based on, you know what I mean? I just, you know,
part doesn't make sense.
He's a diminutive little, you know, guy, you know what I mean? And he's not really, he's a target right now to a lot of people, you know, just based on his success. So I was under the impression that they probably would have demanded he be placed in protective custody, because if something happens to him, you know, his family can easily put a lawsuit out against them, not unless that's their policy to just throw everybody in general population and they don't have a protective custody.
Well, can you still protect someone in general population as you know, the prison itself? Or
you can if you have strength and power in there, you know what I mean? It all depends on how many people you got riding with you, you know what I'm saying? Because it's really hand-to-hand or manufactured weapons, and it's pretty much how to click you with.
Can they put just a guard with you 24/7?
Oh, they would no guard be with you.
No, so it doesn't work that way.
No. And even in protective custody, to my understanding, they have, you know, they run that just like a regular yard, but it's just a bunch of PCs on the yard, and, you know, rats and, you know, homosexuals and all that kind of stuff. So it's just more probably like a zoo than general population.
Is that a zoo?
Yeah.
That's what you call it?
And so you can't trust a motherfucker, and you got, you know, just imagine everybody over there is just no good. They can't walk the main line anymore. Once you go to protective custody, you can't come back on the main line. It's not like, okay, I'm done now, I want to go back and be a man. It's like, no, your reputation is done. So from here on out, you'll be in sensitive needs or protective custody. And if you say, well, I don't want to be here any longer, and they put you back on the main line, you're going to get dealt with like
So they're going to jump on you right away.
Oh, yeah, they're going to get you immediately.
Okay. I mean, because it's interesting, because Tekashi, I mean, he's been asking for it the whole time.
Yes, he has.
Telling people to test his gangster, saying that he can't be stopped, dissing large groups of people.
Yeah.
Dissing Houston, dissing
LA,
dissing different sets in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I forgot, did he say GDK or BDK? Or one of those, he was like.
He did that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's large.
Yeah, when he was beefing with.
Oh yeah, with the young
Chief
rap.
Keef.
Yeah, with the rap guy.
Yeah, I forgot which one it was. Yeah, he's been.
When he was supposed to have went in his hood, and it was like.
Yeah.
4 in the morning or 5 in the morning or something.
Yeah, man. And my thing is this, is for him to walk away from this with, I mean, my guess, and like I don't know the legal system very well, but my guess is looking at this, for him to walk away completely from this sentence or to have, 3 to 5 years, he's going to have to get on the stand and tell on everybody, is what I'm thinking.
No, if everybody invokes their Fifth Amendment right, which probably won't happen, because they're going to entice somebody like, you're looking at this much time. But if you're the first one to let us know, then we can make it sweet for you. So probably somebody's going to go for that. All depends on how deep the loyalty is in his clique, But yeah, he can just invoke his right, to the Fifth Amendment and just let them prove their case, because when you get arrested, they have to prove the case against you. It's not all this circumstantial and we heard this and they have to have actual proof to back what they say, and that's why they have a 95% conviction rate, because they usually have taken the time to compile all that before they even come and get you.
Well, I read about the case. This was actually a joint effort between the feds, NYPD, and Homeland Security. Have you heard of that before?
No, I haven't. No, yeah, that last one that's something vicious right there. That's Guantanamo Bay shit right there. When you deal with Homeland Security, it's like, they can put you somewhere and won't nobody even be able to communicate with you while they process what you got going on. So that's a whole nother level of government right there. That's the safety and security of the nation.
Yeah, I wonder what role they played.
I mean, guns. Wasn't they supposed to be?
Guns, drugs.
Yeah, really the guns. Because, if you getting crates or, however, whatever volume of weapons you getting, and distributing them to whoever for whatever purpose, whether you selling them to you don't know who for what purpose, or you actually arming somebody for something, that's kind of like, that could be interpreted as terrorism, I guess.
He was facing some jail time over that, child molestation case.
I thought they gave him probation.
They gave him probation.
Yeah.
The same day he gets out, the judge gives him probation, that shooting happened in New York between his crew and like his management company or whatever else. And one of his guys gets shot. The same day.
The ones who supposed to have bilked him out of the 3.2 according to him?
Something.
Okay, got you.
Something. And then a couple weeks later, he was doing a video shoot in, I think, Beverly Hills with Kanye, and Nicki Minaj was on her way, and that house gets shot up.
Right.
So you're talking about 2 shootings right after they gave him probation. If I were just look at this as someone who does, I don't know anything about the logistics of this case. I don't talk to anybody. If I'm looking at this from a legal, from the other side of it, it seems to me like someone said, we gave this guy probation and look what he's doing. We're tired of it. We're just simply tired of this person mocking the law. We're just gonna
flouting the law, as they
flouting,
say.
saying, feeling like he's untouchable and shootings everywhere.
Yeah, I saw somebody watching an interview with him a couple of days ago, and it was like he was, hey, I'm untouchable. I'm the man. He had his little, sweater on and his specs. He was looking like, he was planning to be the new Meyer Lansky or something.
Yep.
I was like, okay, you young, you arrogant, you newsworthy. I mean, let's see where this go. I mean, you keep pulling the tail of the donkey. You know what I'm saying? let's see where it go. I'm in for the entertainment aspect of it.
Well, remember when he came to LA to Complex Con, he got into it with Slim 400.
Yeah. Right.
They wouldn't let him in. It turned into a whole altercation, like at the front door. Then the shooting happened right afterwards. Not to say it had anything to do with it, but I'm just saying the shooting happened right afterwards, and it's just like the whole thing is like a fucking mess. Matter of fact, the only time I ran into him was at a strip club, and I went there, said what's up to him. I talked to him and Treyway for a minute, then went back to my section, and then someone threw a bottle at him, and then all hell broke loose. They had to be escorted out, and they got banned from, I forgot what it was, what strip club it was. And it's like everywhere they go, it's that type of ruckus.
Got you.
So I think at one point someone high up.
He invites that type of energy.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's probably like, man, this is enough because it can only get worse. I mean, and then again, when you have so many noted altercations like that and somebody come at you, they don't really have a small suspect list to sift through. It's like,
right.
Well, who might have did this?
Right.
And they got 50 from this city, 25 from this city. This whole state want a piece of your ass. So it's like, who do we look at first?
Yeah, because there was a shooting that happened at the Barclays Center. He was beefing with Casanova 2 times at the time. Not to say that he had nothing to do with it, but this was this was covered very, very closely. And I guess like an innocent bystander got shot. And there's just a bunch of fuck shit that's going back a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you were to look at this from what you know about the legal system, being in and out of the legal system since you were a child,
mm-hmm.
Do you think this is something he could beat, or do you think he's going to sit down for a while after it's all said and done?
I definitely think it's going to cost him a whole lot of money just to put up a sound defense against everything they're going to try to hit him with. And it's going to throw his whole momentum off, and it might take, when the feds get you, you don't go to court like, okay, you go to court in January, then you'll be back in March for your, preliminary, and then you come back in July for pretrial. You can go to court, to my understanding, like every 4 or 5 months, every 6, 7 months, your court cases can be stretched that far apart. So you talking about he might go to court 4 or 5 times in 2 years, 2, 3 years. That's really going to disrupt his momentum.
Yeah, and since he got denied bail, he's going to have to just sit there in a cell while all this is happening.
Yes, and you still have to pay for your mortgage, and you still have to pay for your car notes, and, keeping everything in operation, and your staff, and, things of that nature. So it's going to be real expensive. It's going to be real expensive. And the way it all unfolded, I can kind of see it probably being, people becoming frustrated at, his flouting of the law. And they, they really not big on that anyway. That's like the, uppity nigger syndrome, you know what I mean? Damn if he's Hispanic or whatever, but he identifies, with us, and it's like, hey, we gotta curtail this guy right here.
Well, I'll just say this before we end this topic.
Mm-hmm.
If you looked at, Treyway, on his Instagram, and when you see him in videos, he would always call themselves the new death row. It's Treyway, the new death row. And it's just interesting how you throw that energy out in the world. And when you look at all the bad shit that's happened to death row, and you don't, death row is not Motown. Like, let's just keep it all the way 100 here.
Right.
It's death row.
Right.
A lot of people are dead. A lot, the co-founders in prison.
Yeah.
Like,
a lot of people are dead.
Yeah, a lot of people are dead.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been shot, beat up, in jail forever.
Yeah.
You start calling yourself the new death row.
You bring that energy.
You bring that energy.
Yourself. You know what I mean?
You actually became the new
like
death
being
row.
A Satanist, you know what I'm saying? And then don't want nothing bad to happen to you. You know what I'm saying? The devil is evil. He represents evil. Yep. So, if you pushing that, hey, you get everything you got coming with it. Well, but wish that this time that he has to really sit down and evaluate what's going on. If he gets any peace, he might not get no peace in Rikers to do that. But, I don't know how it's going to go for him. But hopefully he'll learn, and if he does come out of it, it'll make him a better person. Because sometimes it take a spanking to put you on the right track. If can't nobody tell you nothing, that's my philosophy. If you want, if you feel like no one can check you, then you have to check yourself. You have to, or else you're just totally out of control.
Yeah, we're gonna end it right there with that. If you feel like nobody could check you, you have to check yourself.
Yes, sir.
Suge Knight, since last time we talked, has accepted a 28-year plea deal. And, this whole story is very close to home because you and Terry were very close. He was actually your manager for a while, as well as a close friend. Hearing that Suge got such a huge amount of time, did it bring any sort of closure to losing Terry?
For me, it really didn't. And it really can't until I have a conversation with Suge. At some point, somehow, I believe we will talk, because I talked to him when I was fighting my case before. And, I don't know how he could, just be that callous after just, to try to maintain an image after you just killed your friend, the way he turned himself in. That really soured me on just, because I never looked at Suge as, big monster like that, because I dealt with monsters all my life. That's all I deal with. So, we had our own relationship, and it was respectful, and there was a lot of humor involved in it, because he likes to joke around and fuck around. But, I want to know, when he walked in and turned himself in and the cameras was out there, and, he just put the cigar out and put it in the tree and said, yeah, I'll be back to get this in the morning, and just, walked in like it wasn't nothing. I didn't see no remorse or no, confusion or, he didn't even seem to be unsettled. And then when I heard what had happened in the interim of that going on and him bagging up and running over Terry and everything, he just, went allegedly, went freshened up, He knew what was coming, parlay with his little piece or whatever, and hey man, let me go get this out the way, like it was nothing. And it, I don't want to sit here and pretend that, I'm just so broke up about it that, it just disturbs me to that degree. But it's like, I would want to know, like, damn, man, how could you knock your boy off like that and then it not even show on you? You know what I'm saying? When it came time to get in front of the camera, it might even help this case. Like, I don't even want to say nothing right now. You know what I'm saying? My best friend just died. A good friend of mine just died. I talk to y'all when I can or whatever. But he shook, so, you know what I mean? It is what it is.
Yeah, I just interviewed Reggie Wright Jr.
Yeah.
And he told me something interesting. He said he's known Suge since they were in elementary school. And he said the one time that he saw Suge really like stressed out and looking worried and scared was right after the MGM incident.
He did 5.5 years, really trying to move everybody off of Baby Lane. He really was, if you really look at the tape, he was really trying to get, sneaks one in.
Yeah, he
sneaks one in.
He kicks Lane.
He sneaks one in. The judge on the bench there, after reviewing the tape 13 times, I determined you kicked him.
Yeah.
He sneaks one in. But he was really trying to get people off of him because he knew all the cameras and all the situation.
I saw him that morning.
You saw him that morning?
I agree.
Okay.
He was nothing like that. And he had just, You know what I'm saying? But it was 2 deaths. Well, he hadn't died right then, but he was shot up, and he probably seen how bad he was.
Well, no,
when they took him. No, you talking about that after he was shot?
No.
Right after the MG
right
incident?
after they stomped out
okay.
Orlando.
Okay. Oh, he probably knew something was coming.
Yeah, right after they stomped out Orlando, he said that was when he looked at Suge, and Suge looked really worried. Like,
And then I saw Suge like maybe 6 hours later.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
he
5,
was-
6 hours later, and that was after Pac had been shot and he was in
Yeah.
the hospital. We all rode out there to Suge's house.
and Suge was really like,
Yeah, shit, you know, he told us the story out his mouth. I saw the nick on his head and everything. You know what I'm saying? That's why I used to trip out people like, man, I don't care how good somebody shoot. You know, when they were saying
Yeah.
Suge set Pac up to get killed, yeah, nick me in my head, but go on and kill him. You know, I would
and grazed me in the skull.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that on the best SEAL sniper in existence, you know. But
Yeah, make sure you don't get any brain along the way, just the skull.
yeah, I'm like, how could y'all imagine that? The man got hit in the head, and I saw it. So, you know, he was relating the story about how it all unfolded from there to where they was at and how they slid up and everything. And I was like, yeah, man, this dating brought gang banging to Vegas. Like, it's gang banging out there. It wasn't new then, but, you know, when sets really start migrating out there and increasing in size, yeah.
Yeah, but this is all LA guys doing it though. That particular
Oh yeah,
night.
yeah. Expansion.
So I talked to Reggie about the case, and apparently Reggie's been talking to Suge over the phone
Of
in
course.
prison. They go back. And the way he explained it was kind of similar to the conversation you and I had, but there was a little bit of a difference from what I learned. Was that the reason why Suge took that plea deal was because he was facing 3 different charges, 3 different felonies. There was, you know, the Terry situation, but there was also the situation with the girl and her camera, and there was some other situation. I think like he had punched somebody or something.
Right.
There was 3 different situations. He would have had to beat all 3 of those cases in trial, and then beat the appeals afterwards, because he felt that, you know, they would try to appeal each one of those. And the reason why he took
retry him.
yeah. And he just felt that he had essentially a 0 chance to win 6 court dates in a row. That's why he took the 28 years, because it has an actual release date. Plus, he explained to me that in county you get double time. You know anything about that? No? That's not true?
That's a hope and a prayer. You know, it's like when you go when you go to court, they'll assess you whatever time you've been in there fighting your case.
Yeah.
And they might say credit for 742 days. But when you go to your next facility, your what they call it shit? I'm glad I've been away from prison so long that I forgot.
Can't
this
remember
shit.
this shit.
Yeah, it's a reception center. So
Okay.
when you go to your reception center prior to going to prison, they'll break down all the time you was in there, how much time you get credit for, all of this, and then you know that's what they go by. So
Okay.
the day, yeah, the halftime and all that, that's just hoping, you know, you just
Okay.
trying to bring everything together. Okay, and then if I go to a drug program when I'm 2 years to the house, I'll only do 23 years and all that. So yeah, that's just wishful thinking.
Yeah, I mean, he's 50-something years old already.
Yeah.
He's going to get out close to 80. Maybe a little earlier.
Yeah. At least mid-70s.
Mid-70s. Yeah, well, I mean, essentially the reign of terror of Suge Knight in the streets of L.A., I think, is essentially over at this point.
I think it's been over.
Nah, he still kept kind of pushing the line. I mean, think about it. He was
It
pushing the
wasn't as
line.
effective, though. It wasn't as effective later on. After he lost the empire of Dre and Snoop
Yeah.
and Nate and Jewel and the Dog Pound and Tupac,
Yeah.
you know, when he came back for the second wave, shout out to Crooked Eye once again. He held up the banner mostly over there. Corrupt was still back and forth from over there. Dabs was still back and forth from over there. But it wasn't a powerhouse any longer.
Yeah.
Now, his behind the scenes dealings and things like that, I talked to Terry a couple of times, and he would let me know certain, you know, meetings they had went to and things that was going on. So I know he was still pushing his influence, but it was nowhere near magnified as when he had the whole operation behind him, and he was the
Right.
you know.
Well, because I think ultimately, like, what it came down to was, I think Suge knew if it went to trial, it was going to come out that he was not invited there. He was there to push the issue.
Yeah.
That part was going to come out. And in the process of you being Suge, being the stereotypical Suge, somebody dies. So you can't say, I was just getting a hamburger and then suddenly someone got run over.
Right.
I don't know what happened.
Right.
I was just trying to get a milkshake.
That was
Like, you know,
not gonna
Tab's my
fly.
favorite burger spot.
Yeah.
Can't say that.
It wouldn't have flew.
It wouldn't have flew. Not with an intelligent jury. You know.
Not even with a Hick jury.
Not
I
even-
don't think he could have tried that in the backwoods of Virginia. I don't
Yeah,
think that would
man.
have flew right there.
Whitey Bulger.
Yeah, he had that coming, man. The life of a gangster never ends.
Never
until
ends.
It's over.
He was 89 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Been on the run for like 30 years or 40 years or something, right?
I think it probably was about 30, 20 something, 30 years.
Yeah. He was on the run for a long time. He had set up, and he actually did it, you know, like, he was actually kind of smart the way he did it. He had his wife. They moved to some small little middle-class community in Florida. Wasn't flashy. Had a bunch of cash, like, hidden in the house. Minding his own business. Kept a low profile for decades.
Right.
And then he got caught.
They probably knew where he was at.
Yeah?
They probably did. They could have.
Well, they found him.
Yeah.
He got locked up, and he had been, well, you know, I guess in the 70s he was an FBI informant,
Yes.
and he told on a lot of people. Got a lot of people locked up.
He was telling on the opposite mob, the opposing mob out in Boston or wherever they were in Massachusetts. It was like the little Irish mob gang, and the one he had took control of. You know, they petitioned him for information, and he was like, well, these my rivals anyway, so, you know, I can take them down and I can still rule the roost. And what happened was when his usefulness, you know, became less and less because they had pretty much decimated the other mob or whatever, the superiors of his handlers over at the FBI was like, yeah, it's time to bring this guy in. We letting this guy run around and commit all the crimes in the city and, you know, pretty much live with impunity. So one of the FBI agents tipped Whitey off that they was coming for him, and that's what allowed him to escape prosecution in the first place. So the FBI wasn't looking too cool for letting him get away, so they probably didn't want to bring him in too quick because he had a lot of stories.
Well, I looked it up. He was at large for 16 years.
16, yeah.
And on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
He was arrested in Santa Monica, not
Santa Monica.
Santa Monica.
Yeah.
Right around here.
Yeah.
Not Florida like I had originally said.
Oh, I thought you meant he had started off in Florida and then came out here, because I know it was a lady from out here who saw him and called the police on him and said, I think I seen Whitey Bulger.
Right, yeah. Well, he was actually at this apartment building. I'm looking at the picture right now. He was there for 15 years. Literally, he was at the same apartment for 15 years. Wasn't moving around. Just
had damn near $1 million buried in the wall too.
Yep.
when they went and got him.
So, on October 29th, he was transferred to a federal transfer center in Oklahoma City. United States Penitentiary, Hazleton in West Virginia. 89-year-old Whitey Bulger was found dead, I guess, with his eyes gouged out and his tongue torn out and stuff like that.
Yeah, they tried to cut it out with a shank, I think. Tried to cut his tongue out. I don't know if they got it all the way out, but yeah, I heard they tried to take his eyes out and all that. And all this happened so quick. As soon as he had just got there. And they threw him in the shark. They threw him in the shark tank.
So they knew. You think the feds knew this was going to happen?
The feds know the quality of any jail. You know the quality of the inmates that you got there. You know the caliber of inmates. You know, so they had hitmen there. They had mafia members there. You know, so it was structure and protocol going on, obviously, in there. And you done been an informant and on the run. And it's a lot of things you need to answer to. And yeah, somebody gonna put up that ticket to make sure somebody reach out and touch you. They knew. Somebody probably slid them some cheese, you know, yeah, here go whoop-de-wop, you know, put him in here and, you know, I have my boys in there, don't even worry about it, just give us 5 minutes. And then that 5 minutes, beat him to death with a lock in the sock or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, because he was in a wheelchair. This is an old man, 89 years old.
Beat him to death. Yeah, you was an informant. You was supposed to be a gangster. You violated the code. I respect that. I mean, if you live that life, yeah, you gotta respect it. Now, if he was just an 89-year-old stockbroker or something that had, you know, embezzled some money or whatever and found himself in there and got done like that, I'd be like, oh man, why they do that old man like that? But,
so you're perfectly okay with what happened?
Yeah, he signed up for it.
Okay. It is what it is.
Yeah. He knew it too. When it was probably happening, he was probably like, damn, I thought I'd escaped this shit.
Damn near made it.
Yeah, damn.
Damn,
Yeah.
so close.
Yeah.
Well, he lived to 89.
Yeah, but look how he got killed.
Have you seen that type of thing happen in prisons that you were in?
As far as what
As
type
far
of thing?
as, you know, rats and informants, you know, getting caught up with and so forth.
Oh, most definitely. That's protocol, you know. But most of the time, it comes from your own circle, the information, and then somebody might have thought that they got away with something and they might be suspect. So you sit up and peruse the paperwork, and you know you find out who said what and all that, and then find out that you know one of the people might have said something that wasn't cool, and you know you gotta handle it. You know you gotta handle it. If your car gonna be tight, you can't have snitches running around in your car. You can't have, you can't have, oh well he told, but he cool now, he can fight, or he got money, so we ain't gonna trip off him. To anybody that informs, they gotta get it. You know they can't be inside. That's a cancer inside of your car. So you were locked up where people around you have gotten killed for telling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was in Tracy, when I first went to Tracy DVI, I was there for, I think 19 months or something, close to 2 years. And there was almost 30 people that got murdered in that time, in that one prison, that 1 yard. They had 1 yard, and it was 1 yard where everybody went to. And in that time, it was a few correctional officers and several inmates had got murdered in that time. It was and you go on lockdown for 3-4 months, you know, and they gradually interview people. Is it cool? Can we let everybody out again? Yeah, it's cool. Everybody come out, you know, go to the store, get their canteen back together, you know, do whatever they had to do, make whatever phone calls they had. And if one side lost and felt that it needed to be redressed, then it'll go back up. Boom. And then you back locked down again.
How often, when someone gets killed in prison like that, how often do they catch the person who did it?
I wouldn't know, but I know where I was. Didn't many people get caught because
Really?
nobody
So-
was telling back
I
in
see
that
what you're
era. Now I couldn't. I really wouldn't know the statistics.
Right, but back then, someone would get killed and no one saw anything.
They say nothing.
Must be pretty frustrating to the prison system where it's like, damn, like
Yeah, I mean,
we got a murder inside we got people are supposed to be here for murder. They're doing more murdering inside the prison, and no one's telling us. And now the warden has these bodies that and probably the family's going to sue, and
Right.
and so forth. And
right.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes they would tell. Sometimes people do tell, but it wasn't really often. It's a lot different today, because people more out for self today, and they don't really have guidelines and codes and structures that they adhere to. It got a lot to do with the drugs that they take these days too. So,
well, I had a Dresta and BG Knockout.
shout out CPT.
They were talking about how when they were young, they were saying that they would find these crates of guns.
I heard from an OG that they used to find barrels of guns along the train tracks, just sitting there, Uzis, like fully automatic guns, bro, like just sitting there for people to find. Little kids in the ghetto throwing rocks on the train tracks, what they do, stumble across a whole barrel of guns.
So you think the government left them
Absolutely.
there? Have you heard of any such thing in Long Beach?
Not in Long Beach, but Watts, Compton. Yeah, they bring a train out there just full of guns,
And just have
and
at it.
people just hit the train, and next thing you know, you'll hear some hood somewhere, selling, new nines for 300. You know what I'm saying? Or they got AKs over here for 700, and just like it was always mysterious crates of weapons popping up throughout the ghetto.
So this is a real thing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow. So you think the government is like, okay, we're going to leave these guns in this high crime neighborhood, and they're just going to kill each other?
Population control.
Huh.
I mean, you see what they just did to arrest the kids somewhere. I forget what city this was. Was it Chicago or somewhere? They pulled up with a truck full of Nikes or something like that. And,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that fuck shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the fuck shit, the bait and switch. You know what I'm saying? Sit a nice car out there, luxury car, and in a high crime area, and somebody get in and drive 2 blocks and everything cut off and the doors locked, then you got Grand Theft Auto just because I mean, you shouldn't steal. Don't get me wrong. Not saying just because you hopped in the car and did that, but it's entrapment.
Yeah.
It's entrapment, and who young, not pretty much impoverished, not gonna see an opportunity like that and take it. So yeah, they did that, especially in LA with this the home of Crips and Bloods, So it's been warfare going on since the late '70s, real hard warfare, late '60s, early '70s, and it reached the peak during the late '70s and mid '80s. The advent of the drive-bys and things like that. People wasn't going getting them guns from Big Five.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can't even, you can go in Big Five, you might buy a 22 rifle or a shotgun, 12-gauge shotgun. You're not buying nothing to shoot 100 rounds.
Right, because I remember when I interviewed Big U, he said that when he got out of prison this one time, and when crack was hitting the streets, and I asked him what the big difference was with crack in LA, he said the caliber of guns. Yeah, it was called Ready Rock in the beginning.
It was a lot of different names. And so when it actually hit was like 83. And I came back home 84. And we went from being able to just, and it changed it because 2 things happened major. The influx of guns and a different kind of guns. And then
like the automatics and
the
everything else
automatics,
like that,
because we hadn't even seen automatics. We weren't even having no automatics then.
Because you had the money to buy them then.
Right.
You know what I mean? And, it was a demand for them because, you had these drug dealers with all this money and these nice cars, and they had bodyguards for protection, and what you gonna protect them with, a 22 and a 38?
Right.
You need real firepower. So it was that, as well as before that, the only way you was really getting assault weapons was people coming back from the military, and they bring back 2 or 3 machine guns or whatever, and might sell 1 or 2 of them and keep one, and you know that's how they would get out there. So there really wasn't a whole lot. Now, you know, you ain't really shit if you ain't got a machine gun, something to shoot 50 or 100 times. It's like, you know, you pull out a 9 or something, it's like, that's cute, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I just interviewed this dude Colin Noir, who's he's one of the spokesmen for the NRA, one of the few black spokesmen for the NRA, and he took me to a private shooting range, and where they actually had, you know, they legally had automatic weapons for us to shoot off.
Right.
So there's actually a video on the site of me shooting off automatic weapons for the first time.
I'd say 6 to 7 grand.
Okay, not that bad.
Yeah. No, especially considering what you can do with this. Right. Yeah. This is, and especially how light it is.
And I'm like it doesn't even feel real. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when you're
But
just
they
firing,
can have the guns. Hold on, they're illegal, but they can have the guns.
First of all, automatic weapons, the way he explains to me, aren't actually illegal. You could have an automatic weapon, but you have to submit your name and open yourself up to all types of potential investigations and stuff like that.
Okay.
So you could have that automatic weapon at your house, but the police might just randomly show up one day and want to search your house. So you know, you see what I'm saying? That's what you sign up for.
Got you. Got the full scrutiny.
The full scrutiny, which so most people just say, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to find.
Give me the one only shoot 30 times.
Right.
At
Exactly. But
every squeeze.
At this range, you know, they had all the automatic weapons and stuff like that, and we actually went in there and were shooting them off.
Right.
In L.A.
That's dope.
In L.A. And I remember, and I'm firing this shit off, going like, the type of damage that this thing could do is just like monumental. Like I could literally take out a crowd of people with this thing.
Yeah.
You know, literally kill a crowd of people with this one little piece of metal in my hand. Like it's insane.
Right. And if you have a couple of extra clips, just imagine what you could do. And then with that adrenaline running, it's like police, whoever. It's like, you know, it's a cold tool, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, do you think with all the school shootings and the Thousand Oaks shootings and shit, they just shot up a hospital in fucking Chicago.
Yeah.
Do you think that they should, you know, look at the gun laws in America, or do you think it's not going to matter?
That's one of the most contentious debates with politicians and you know,
because you're a convicted felon.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to legally have a gun?
Not at all. No. Mm-mm. But the right to bear arms, that's the Fourth Amendment, something like that. Second Amendment, one of the motherfucking amendments. I don't give a fuck about none of them. I'm gonna do what I gotta do to keep myself right and protected. But at the same time,
Second Amendment.
Yeah, the Second Amendment. Yeah. I knew it was one of them. That's something that's not ever gonna get resolved because it's, I mean, Smith and Wesson, Remington, Ruger, it's, they make money off selling guns and selling weapons, and you have the right to have a weapon in America to protect yourself, and you know what I'm saying, if you haven't violated the law according to them, where you're penalized from owning a weapon. But I don't think this never going to. I think it's just shouting back and forth across the aisle. It's gonna remain the same. I just think that it's gonna be more security at religious, places and where people gather, where that kind of thing might take place. I think people are gonna have to start putting more security on themselves. Yeah. But I don't think the laws are going to change at all.
Well, you know what's interesting is that I just interviewed Yella Beezy. He's a Dallas artist.
He got shot,
He got shot up.
Yeah. I like that song, Favors. You did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. He's a dope artist.
Right.
We did one of his early interviews, and we actually did the interview with him after he got shot. Mm-hmm. And someone pulled up. He was leaving like a little hood strip club or something. Someone pulled up on him on the freeway, shot up his car 23 times, hit him like 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
He survived. But what was interesting in the story was he said that he actually had a gun on him.
The gun was on my lap. I guess when I swerved, when I found out like what was going on, when they were hitting the car, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't find the gun. I didn't know where the motherfucker fell to. I'm trying to find it so I can bust back. Like if I was able to bust back, it was gonna be a shootout. Like you know what I'm saying? I'm not finna let nobody shoot at me. And I got a gun. Like I'm gonna bust back. Like we were gonna have a whole fucking shootout on this highway if I was able to get back to the gun.
You could have your gun, and someone get the drop on you, just won't matter.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, you know,
Have all the guns in the
not,
world.
Yeah, it's not the gun. You know, it's like guns don't kill people, really.
People kill people.
Guns don't kill people. I mean, I know a lot of gun enthusiasts, all that. You know, go to the range, all that. Ain't gonna harm a soul. You know what I'm saying? Unless it comes to protecting their family or defending themselves.
Right.
You know, so. It's the person behind the gun.
Yeah, like one of the things that me and Colin talked about that we kind of laughed at a little bit is that you never hear of mass shootings at gun ranges. But I've never actually heard of a mass shooting in a gun range.
Exactly.
Because I guess everyone else is armed also.
It's like the elusive obvious, right?
Yeah.
And you don't really realize how obvious it is until you really sit down and think about it.
Yeah.
And it makes perfect sense. It's like, yeah, unless you just have a death wish and you want to die,
Yeah.
also, you're probably not going to start shooting people where everybody else has guns, because then you're probably not going to fare too well.
Think about
Well,
it.
it was a shooting though at a gun range not
Really?
too long ago. Yeah. Some guy.
I've never
Some
heard of
guy.
that.
Yeah. It was about it was like this year
Okay.
or last year. Some
Well, you
guy
rarely
like
hear of shootings.
Oh, you rarely? No, I most definitely because everybody there ready.
Right.
You know, but yeah, no doubt. But it tripped me out when I heard about it happening.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You know, I had Mr. Criminal on here recently.
Shout out to Mr. Criminal.
Yep.
He on my album.
Yep.
Yeah, General's List too.
Cool dude, man.
Yeah,
I liked
he
him a
is.
lot.
He is.
And what I never realized until talking to him, because I don't really interview a lot of Mexican rappers or gang affiliates and so forth. I never realized that Sureños wear blue and Norteños wear red.
Well, Southsiders, we rock the blue rag too.
That's
Back pocket right now. Absolutely, yeah.
okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with how it works on the Chicano side.
Sureños wear blue, Northerners wear red. So it's like, it's just our way, yeah.
Which has nothing to do with Crips and Bloods.
Nah, not at all. We rock the blue rag, the Northerners rock the red rag.
That's always been like that?
Yeah. It has. It has. That's what they represent, the blue. And when you get past Bakersfield and Fresno, it turns red. Everything past that is red.
Huh.
Yeah, that's the last blue station up there, Fresno and Bakersfield, all the way down to San Diego. All Mexicans are blue.
This has been going on for decades and decades and
Yeah,
decades.
yeah. Some of them videos been out since the 30s and 40s, man.
Wow.
Yeah, you got some old videos that been around for eons. They entrenched in the community, you know what I'm saying? They are the community in some spots.
Is there Mexicans in Long Beach?
Yeah, it's Mexicans in Long Beach. Couple of videos.
So there's Mexican gangs in Long Beach.
Yeah, been Mexican gangs out
Is
there.
it as big as like the Crip gangs?
A couple of them out there is pretty big.
Hmm.
A couple of them out there pretty big. They've been around since before us. You
Okay.
know? And I grew up with some of them. Getting in trouble with some of them. When I didn't go to school and be running around the city looking for shit to do, I'd stumble over there sometime. And we was cool back then, but we don't really intermingle now in this day and age. There's been a lot of blood spilled between the two gangs, but it's kind of like balancing out now, to where it's not that frequent. But yeah, Mexican gang, they get into it with the Asians out there as well. It's
Rather the Cambodians.
yeah. Well,
I know these stupid young.
Yeah, TRGs and all them.
Yeah. One of the things that he said, I mean, this is actually kind of interesting. I asked him whether the Mexican gangs run California, and he said yes. You know, he said surely by numbers. I mean, because when you look at LA as a whole, I mean, really the Mexicans are the biggest gangs.
Yeah,
in
they are.
Mexico.
They're the biggest in the prison system too. But we cool.
And
When it come to LA Mexicans and the surrounding, you know, we're cool with them. We don't got no problem. They know about us too and shit. They know that we go at it with the Long Beach Mexicans.
And I remember when I brought this up to Drace and VG Knockout, he's like, every gang gonna say they run Cal. Like,
they are.
He's like, oh man, come on. Like,
Who's gonna say, no, well, we don't really run it, but we in there a little bit, you know what I mean?
But isn't there more Mexicans in gangs
There are.
than there are Crips and Bloods?
There probably are. There probably are. But I mean, we always see each other. It's like, you know, if we in jail, it's 2,000 of y'all and 1,500 of us. So, you know, the numbers ain't really that much.
So it's not a huge, it's not a 10
Well, you
to
don't
1.
really see it because, you know, you more focused on your gang and what's going on with you. But, you know, it's Vadios that got members, like I say, they've been around since the 30s and 40s, and members constantly coming on. Families, are, because I have a friend, Eddie Blue Line. He was telling me he grew up with a few friends of his, I believe in, where was it at? Was it Chino or somewhere? And he said, he had a friend that his mom and daddy gang bang, and all the kids gang bang. So they 13, 14 years old. They can bring women over there. They can get high, and it was like they walking right past the moms and pops, and it was like, hey, orale, and it's just like cool, you know what I'm saying? Pops like, oh, come in, you guys on y'all shit, whatever, just checking on them like it was just normal. It was a normal progression for them to gang bang. So I'm sure it's a lot of Mexican gang members, but it's a whole lot of Crips too, and a lot of Bloods.
I mean, when you look at the black gangs versus the Mexican gangs, what do you think is the intrinsic difference between the two?
Mexican gangs have, for the Sureños, they have mostly a connection to the Mexican mafia. And, they're more military structured. Black gangs more freelance and, operate how they operate, not operating by. It's a general code, but it's not really, this code doesn't adhere. The same one that adheres, the Insanes adhere to, the East Coasters don't. You know what I'm saying? They adhere to a different code. So the difference is, and the obligation as far as being a part of a Mexican gang. You have to do certain things that you can't even question.
Such as, give me an example.
I mean, just orders. It's just orders. Whatever.
So if you
the
say
order
go
is.
beat up that guy, you gotta go. You gotta go do it.
You gotta go do it. You gotta go shoot him. Gotta go do this. It's not like that. It's like no, we gonna go shoot him. You know what I'm saying? You ain't, or if he's a little homie, and it all depends on who's above him that's telling him to do it, how he respects them, how he responds. It's not a do or die situation. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I remember watching American Me, and remember like they asked that one guy to go kill that other dude, and he's like, "Oh no, that was my homie back in the day." And they're like, "All right," and then that next day they killed the dude they asked from their own gang.
Yeah.
And they were saying how everything changed because everyone saw that they were willing to kill their own. And he said at that point everyone kind of took a step back, like, okay, these guys are a little different.
Right.
And you're saying that's how the Mexican gangs are.
Yeah, Mexican. Yeah, they operate pretty structured, and they own their shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember Freeway Ricky Ross told me that
black gangs really don't have the leadership stuff like
no,
not like, I mean, I've been in the joint with them. I had never been around Mexican gangs before or white gangs before. They have leaders. They have what they call shot callers.
But you're saying that the Crips and Bloods didn't have that.
They don't really go by those rules, you know. They got a guy that may call the shots on 2 or 3 guys, you know, they're following. But when you're talking about he's gonna dictate to the whole hood, that ain't finna happen.
No.
Black gangs don't do it. If they did, they would be a lot more powerful than what they've been. I think one of the problems is lack of organization.
Well, no, it's individual influence. You know, you have certain gang members that can actually make some people not make, but initiate people from other hoods to get down with his program, or you know, it's just depending on his respect level throughout, you know, the gang culture. You know, so it's not like one person oversees all the Crips, or you know, it's too many. You know, it's too many. And then, you know, same situation with the Bloods. I don't think it's really one person that, you know, gives them a directive, but it's a couple of people that they respect, like us, you know, that we respect overall, that we defer to in a situation.
Yeah, and I remember, you know, Dresta talked about how he got shot recently, and you know, and him and BG Knockout were talking about the situation. They were saying how, I guess he went back to his old neighborhood and whatever else, and BG was talking about how, you know, even though you're from there, these young dudes really don't care. There is not that established, okay, that's so-and-so, we gotta leave him alone and show him respect.
There is, but you have to establish that.
Establish that, yeah.
Consistently.
Right.
It's not like, oh, I did this back in '97 and then it's 2018 and, you know, it's like, what have you done since then? You know what I'm saying? You have to constantly, you know, pay your dues and, you know, make your representation felt and understood.
Yeah.
You know, it's a constantly evolving world, and youngsters run it. You know, G's run the pen, youngsters run the streets pretty much. So, you know, you have to know how to maintain your position within that balance.
Well, I had MC Search on recently.
I saw
Third base.
Yeah.
Are you a third base fan?
I like Stepping to the AM and Gas Face.
Gas Face.
You know what I'm saying?
Pop Goes the Weasel.
Yeah. Pop Goes the Weasel.
They had some jams.
Yeah, they
back in the day.
They did.
Well, apparently, you know, Search has told the story a few times, but most recently on my platform. There were some personal differences they had with MC Hammer.
Pete said the line that really pissed Hammer off about, you know, Cactus turned Hammer's mother out. And that was the one that really took Hammer over the edge. But the whole genesis of it for me was twofold. One, he wouldn't battle me, which is petty, but I was, you know, I was 19 years old. Like, so in my mentality and how we looked at how we dealt with things in hip hop, you battle. That's not his culture. It's not where he comes from. And even if it is, what does he have to prove to me?
The way he describes it, the Crips were constantly running up on him, getting ready to kill him. And he had like an OG with him that was constantly stopping them from doing that.
It's possible. It all depends on who that OG was, just what I just said. You know what I'm saying? It all depends on who he had standing next to him. Some, you know, if you have respect like that, you could, you know, you can bring enemies to your neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? And people will respect the fact that they with you, and they got to pass until they're not with you. So, you know, I could see that, but Hammer wanted to kill him for sending the Crips on him for this. I didn't even know Hammer was connected to the Crips.
Well, they were saying it was Hammer's brother.
Oh, okay. Didn't know he was either, but
yeah.
I get it.
Did you hear shit
Money
like,
talk anyway.
I mean,
so.
but do you hear shit, you know, shit like that back in the day where some outsider would try to pay some gang to go do their dirty work for them and that type of shit?
Something similar. I've heard of similar things of that nature, but
it just seems like something like that. There's so many ways for this to go wrong. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like you're talking about. This is such a recipe to end up going to prison yourself.
Right.
You know, for doing a murder for hire thing. You got all, because the way he described it was like everywhere they went, like all these Crips would surround them and start pulling out guns. So
I think that was a little bit of embellishment.
You know, it was like some sort of mass text went out to all the Crips in L.A.
when they didn't even have text.
Exactly.
Or
two-way
pagers.
Yeah, this is before two ways, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah, but my whole thing is, listen, I'm not saying the story's real. It's not real. At the end of the day, nothing's going to happen. But, like, it seemed to me like, let's just say I really hated somebody. And I went to you and said, hey, I'm going to give y'all $50,000 to go kill this person.
Right.
As an intelligent person, I would assume that I'm probably going to go to jail at the end of this process. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like somebody's going to tell. It's going to come back to me. Something's going to go wrong. Like, you know, if the person does get killed, doesn't get killed, here I am in the middle of all this.
Right.
It just don't make no damn sense to me.
It don't make a lot of sense. And people usually, I mean, when I see that, people usually solicit, you know, from their friends or people they know, hey, do you know somebody that would kill this guy for me? And they like, well, my friend's pretty tough. Let me ask him. And then, you know, oh, well, I won't do it, but I have a friend, John, that'll do it. By that time, it's 5 people that
know about this murder for hire.
You feel me?
Like I'm just saying, like the whole thing sounds a bit crazy.
I agree with you. It makes no sense whatsoever at all.
Especially it's MC Hammer.
And then what stops the person from just taking the $50,000 and saying, oh, well, now you're going to need $50,000 to get him killed for taking your money, and then you still got to kill the other person. So, yeah, that's foolish. Handle your business. Handle your own business. If it's that serious.
If you're going to go kill somebody, just do it yourself.
Yeah, if it's that serious, handle your business, man. Be hands-on.
Yeah, man. The whole thing sounds, I mean, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah. Maybe it happened. Maybe that. MC Hammer actually addressed it.
Did he?
He said it was ridiculous.
Oh, okay.
He said the whole thing was ridiculous.
But I heard, the way you described the line in the verse, it's like he said turn his mother out, and he said the cactus turned his mother out. Like
Hammer's
the mother.
Yeah.
The mother he's talking about. Turn his mother out. The mother is the event. So Cactus turned Hammer's mother out. What he just, I mean, it's just, it's not that malicious to be putting no. He said 20,000 or something, didn't he?
50,000.
50. It's not that malicious for me to be giving nobody no $50,000. But he did buy the police helicopters and stuff like that. I heard. So
remember, Hammer was doing diamond back in the day. Back then, 50,000 for Hammer was not.
50,000 was some cool money back then, though. Still to be you know, you can pay somebody $5,000, $10,000 to get somebody knocked off, easy. You know, 50,000 for somebody supposedly maybe had been alluding to disrespecting your mom that don't know her, never seen her. Yeah, I got 50,000, man. Go kill that dude. That's kind of like you say. And then what's the stop? He got a line on you now. From now on. Hey, man, you know, that 50 gone, man. Slide me another 10, man. You know, I ain't going to say nothing. You know, I ain't never going to say nothing.
But I need another 10. Because I might say something.
Exactly.
Well, ultimately, man, no one got killed. No one got hurt.
No.
You know, I guess Serch is still upset. He's been going to therapy for the last 25 years about it, he said.
Wow.
And I guess he's still angry about the situation.
After 25 years, do you think therapy is still the answer? I mean, just questioning. If I couldn't really solve my problems and you know through therapy within like 2 or 3 years, I think I wouldn't make no lifelong commitment to therapy, because therapy is just you expressing your thoughts and ideas and feelings and experiences with somebody else, and they giving you feedback on what they think. That's just a friend.
Pretty much. Just talking to your friend for 25 years about the same situation.
At $150 an hour.
Yeah, I think that maybe, you know, when a person doesn't get any level of retaliation towards somebody, some people can't really swallow that. They feel like they have to somehow get something out of that person back, whether it's money, whether it's
I could see
violence.
That. No, I could see that.
Whether it's embarrassment, whether it's whatever. Maybe that's
I felt like that at one point in my life. I did. I was intent on righting a few of the wrongs that I felt had been done to me, and it just took my spirituality to know that God is the biggest presence, and if you say you're gonna give it to Him to take care of, then you can't take it upon yourself to try to make it right when you don't feel He's not doing enough to make it right. You just gotta let it go. You gotta let things go.
Yeah, I mean, I remember there was a fight that I lost in high school. This one dude, I was getting an argument with this one dude, and his friend basically just punched me in the face, and
blindsided you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I remember I was mad about that for some years. I remember at one point that guy committed suicide, I had found out. And I'm like, I still kind of felt some type of way about that situation, but yet the guy is dead. So it's so illogical to have this type of I can't do anything about it, he's dead.
Right.
Apart from maybe digging him up and
he got away with something.
Pissing on his grave or something. Even then, he's dead. He's not going to care.
Right.
And that's the thing about revenge, is that it will eat you up inside. There's no way to fix it.
It will. That's why success is actually the best revenge. I think success is the best revenge for
everything. I agree. Yeah, because I'm not angry these days.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
Yeah, and feel wonderful.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
feels
Not
great.
to have, I even had to check myself a couple weeks ago. That's why I say if you ain't gonna allow anybody else to check you, you have to check yourself constantly. I was a certain individual that I had dealt with before that I don't deal with anymore. I was like, I saw something that he was doing, and I was like, and it automatically caused a reaction inside of me, this motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? And then I had to reflect back that most of our relationship was good, and he just got kind of funny in the end, and that caused us not to really be friends anymore. But I'm like, that the one bad thing, resonates more than all the good. It's like a line in the Beyonce song that I'm really a fan of, the first time I say no, it's like I never said yes.
Right.
You know what I mean? So out of all the good that we had, the bad thing,
Yeah.
it overtakes everything else, and that's not cool. So I said, man, I got to stop doing that. I got to stop letting people, anybody, get to me to a position where I feel a certain way about whatever they have going on. Because if they not feeding me, sleeping with me, what I'm saying, right there next to me when I need them at the most important times, then they really shouldn't matter that way anyway, to cause no reaction inside of me.
Yeah. You're Muslim.
Yes.
We posted a video of Kevin Gates, I guess, converting Moneybagg Yo to Islam.
He was giving him his shahada.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't. That's what it is, though.
Is that all it takes?
Yeah, well, before that, I'm sure he asked him some questions, or he knew what they usually ask. Well, I know behind the wall, because that's where I took my shahada at. They'll ask you, are you coming into this of your own knowledge and free will? And you owe anybody any debts? Are you running from anybody or anything? Because that's not how you come to Islam. You come to Islam with a pure spirit to worship God and give God reverence.
Right, because I had heard that in general in the prisons, people leave the Muslims alone. Not so much?
No, well, sometimes it be clashes, you know what I'm saying? You got a young, you got a young wild dude in there or something, and, he might have a run-in with a Muslim brother, you know what I'm saying? And it can go the wrong way. So what we would do is that we would try to ameliorate the situation what happened? You know, brother, is it enough for you to let it go? Is it enough for you? If not, bro, you want to fight the brother? You feel that that's the only way you feel the situation to be resolved? What's up, little homie? You feel like you can let it go or whatever, and then we'll bring it to a resolution.
The reason why I say it is,
but sometimes it go up though.
Okay, so people can't get into some shit and say, well, I'm a Muslim now, so y'all can't touch me.
No.
It doesn't work that way.
No.
It doesn't work that way. Okay, got it.
It don't work
Got
like
it.
that
Okay.
at all.
So you converted to Islam in prison.
Well, I was already, you were born a Muslim. Everybody born a Muslim because, you know, God makes everyone Muslim.
Okay.
And it's one God, so you're connected to one God. Now, when you go outside of that and you learn different things to follow, a Muslim only, Islam means submission to God.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like your nature is understanding of one God, you know, and it's a saying that you can't serve two masters. So, you know, it's to be Muslim is to have your own personal understanding with God and to follow the guidelines of Islam, meaning you pray 5 times a day, you give charity, you fast during the month of Ramadan, you make your Hajj, you know, if possible, and you take your Shahada and you believe in all the, you know, predestination and the prophets and things of that nature. So, and you know, you give charity as well.
I interviewed Arab a few times, and he's Muslim. You know, the big Muslim community in Philly. And he talked about how he knows that some of the stuff that he's done does not coincide with him being a Muslim.
I can take you to Philly, man. You can take you to masjids where, you know, these guys, these are good brothers. It's like, I'm not the best Muslim, you know what I'm saying? So I'm out here cutting up, you know what I'm saying? I ain't the best Muslim at all, by far. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even a good Muslim. But it's still in our heart, you know what I'm saying? We're supposed to love our prophet and the law more than we love ourselves and our parents, our kids, everything, you know what I'm saying?
At the point that you got, you know, like this process that we saw with Moneybagg Yo, like how old were you at the time?
I took my Shahada in 2005 or 2006. It was one of those years. So it was only like 12 years.
12 years ago. Were you continuing?
I was in prison. I was going to the masjid on the streets. I was taking my kids there. I was taking my friends there because the Nation of Islam was our security on a lot of the tours that we went on with Snoop Dogg. And I would interact with them, and, you know, that we would always, you know, chop it up. And I was like resistant to God in my younger years, you know, preteen, early teen, 20s. And as I grew older, started realizing about nature and the world and divinity, then my curiosity was aroused and it was satiated when I would speak to them about the Quran. I read the Bible when I was in the Youth Authority. Like 1982, I read the Bible cover to cover. And my mind didn't really know how to process it then, but I got a lot out of it as well. So just coming into understanding that and being where I'm at now as a Muslim, of course I know it's things that I do frequently that wouldn't be really appreciated by God, but I know God made us weak in the flesh, you know, and that's not my excuse to do things. I still strive to be perfect and be righteous, but it's always going to be a challenge, you know, your nafs, your lower nafs, you know, to control, you know, your lusts, your urges, and things like that. You have to come from your lower nafs up to your upper and operate from a spiritual and mental perspective more than just giving into urges and lusts. So it's always a battle and a challenge. And, you know, if you know anything about life, it's a yin and yang, you know, what the cause and the consequence. So, you know, you always try to do better.
I feel you, man. I feel you. You know, I'm not religious myself.
Got you.
But I've seen a lot of good come from religion. You know, also saw some bad.
True.
You know, it's just like anything else.
True.
You know, it could be utilized however you want
And
to utilize.
manipulated.
And manipulated.
True.
In any type of way. So, you know, I thought it was really dope when the synagogue got shot up. I think like that there was a Muslim group that raised something like $100,000.
Oh, our mosque in Riverside contributed some money to that, to the synagogue.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's one God, no matter, you know, so that's how we approach it. We always out to help people, you know, and always out to do good and be better. And that's what it's about as a person. It's about improving yourself. As you know better and you learn more, you know, your behavior becomes more refined. You know, if you don't take the time to learn and know and understand, then you'll never grasp, you know, the higher things that you should.
Yep. You got a new project coming.
Dope new project. It's a continuation of the film I did, Gangster, with Mike Epps. This one is starring Guy Toy, Wilson Ramirez, as well as my wife, Cognac the XO. And we doing a few more installments of that just to keep the people intrigued about the future of cannabis and, you know, technology and things of that nature. This is executive produced by Snoop Dogg and Ted Chung, so you know y'all can be expected to get a lot of exposure and, you know, do good. It's real good, man. Shout out to our True Group, you know, and Vantage Point Vision.
Dope, man. Can't wait to see it.
No doubt. Thanks, man.
Until next time.